And we are live. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. It's been a minute since we got to see you. I'm very happy to see you all again, and thanks for joining us. I've missed you. It's February 23rd. The last time we did this was back in January. So we've changed the format a little bit, and we've also changed how often we are doing the show. But we're here, and I'm excited because we've got a really special guest, special referral, special recommendation, and I can't wait to just have this chat with her. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm Carmen Milagro, and I'm your host of Confidence Strategies. I'm a confidence strategist. I'm an entrepreneur artist. I am a lyricist. I do many different things. But for tonight, I am simply your host. The special guest is why we're here. So we get to learn about different people's journeys and, their accomplishments and their challenges sometimes, because all of this is designed to help you level up your life and live better and think of things in a different way. What I hope that we do is that we inspire you and you engage with us. And maybe we just give you another perspective on how to look at things. That's really about it. I want to always focus on the positives of life and that there are opportunities even when maybe we're facing some of our own challenges, whether it's professional or personal. I think that by sharing stories and listening to other people's stories, first of all, we learn and we confirm that we're not alone. We don't have to struggle on our own, and that sometimes other people's experiences, other people's wisdom can help us get out of this funk that we might be in. So we do focus on, wait a minute, hold on here. What is happening? Sometimes technology, it says we're live. So I hope you didn't miss all that. We'll figure it out in the long run. Again, I'm Carmen Milagro, and this is Confidence Strategies. Tonight's webisode is sponsored in part by Music City here in San Francisco, and our featured guest is comedian Joanne Filan. Filan, say that right? Like Filan? Yes, Filan. Joanne has performed at well-known places such as the Friars Club, Caroline's, Broadway, and the Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and many others. She's also proudly performed for our troops overseas through Armed Forces Entertainment. She's also been on TV, and she's had media appearances like Here TV, Fox, Amazon Video, and Comics Favorite Jokes in the New York Post. So without further ado, I am going to bring her on, and she'll be joining us from New Jersey. Hello,
hey,
Joanne.
Hey, Carmen. I was so excited. So excited to be here listening.
I'm happy to meet you and see you and, like in person. And I'm really excited to have this chat, and thank you for taking time out of your day or your evening I know it's later there. So
thank you for assuming that I have things that I'm doing during the day.
Well,
I appreciate that, though. It sounds good. Very busy.
Good. I think we're just going to dive right in, Joanne.
All right.
It's I know you're on the East Coast, and I'm assuming Jersey because the person who referred me is also from Jersey. So I figured that's the connection there. And in case he's watching, thank you, John, for making this connection.
He's a good man, that John.
Yeah. His ears were ringing. We were talking about you, John. Sure. All good things, I promise. Joanne, why don't you share with us a little bit of your story? Like, how did you become a comedian? Like, was it something that you had always planned on? I mean, just did you decide it? Was it decided for you? How did that all happen?
These are some good questions. I wish I had a set specific story to tell, but it always kind of varies because I don't know if there was a moment that I knew that I wanted to be a comedian, or if it was just something that I always have enjoyed making people laugh. Always been a thing. It never occurred to me that, you could do that, for a living or just long term without people just thoroughly getting annoyed by you. um, but yeah, the main thing is that I always wanted to make people laugh. I always enjoyed that. And people would say to me, you should do comedy, and it was just one of those things like, yeah, right. Okay, sure. I could do comedy. And then I think it was just at some point, it just occurred to me, you know what? Maybe I could, it's something that makes me happy. And I think it was actually at a point where I felt a little distance from making people laugh or just doing comedy, not actual, as a comedian. And then I almost sort of missed the opportunity. And then I think it's at that point that I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna just go all out, check this out. So I took a class because, that's what you do, I guess, or that's what I do. Whenever I want to learn about something, I take a class, which is, I've taken a whole lot of random classes. But yeah, I took a class in comedy. It was probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks. Got together with a bunch of people. We wrote material, and then we got to perform at a club in New York City. We did like a 5-minute set. And after that, that was it. I was like, okay, this is it. I have to do this more and often. And that's where it all began, I think.
Well, so it is, sometimes it's really nice to hear about different people's journeys, because I think there's a lot of assumptions sometimes that people make about artists. And I think that's why it's so important to share, different stories, because everyone has their own path,
absolutely,
their own journey.
Absolutely.
Were you, before you decided to go all in, what were you in other careers? Like, what did you do? I know I can talk about all these random things that I did in my past too. So,
yes,
interesting to see that those steps before finding your calling, before finding your true passion.
Well, ironically or not, I don't know how it connects, but I often would ask people this if I'm ever doing talks about comedy or something like that, is what would you think I would have done, maybe in college? What would I have majored in? And it's rare that people guess that it was marine biology. So
nope, never.
Yeah. It's way down on the list, basically.
Right.
It's not a first thought. Like,
right.
So yeah, it's very different. I like to apparently use both sides of my brain. I still and always will love science. And I don't know if there's maybe some kind of connection there. With like a science of comedy, I don't know, but yeah, I started off, hoping to do stuff with, biology, with the ocean, with marine biology, all of that. And then at the same time, I still really like making people laugh. So I just kind of worked it together and, so it's not like I do marine biology on the side. I can't say that I do that, but I just sort of I've had I worked in aquariums. I've done a lot on the science part, and now I'm doing more on the comedy side, I guess.
Well, there is a science to making people laugh. There's a science to writing, your own material. Right. It's not just the art. So to me, I can see it.
Yeah,
maybe I'm stretching, but at least I'm stretching my imagination to
I
imagine
like it.
that.
It's good. It's good because otherwise, what is going on with me? There's
No,
just like nothing.
but I think it's also fascinating because there seems to be sometimes this, like this, I don't know, like, I don't like broad stroke general statements most of the time. I just think that it kind of can lead us into trouble. And
Right.
I just feel like sometimes people forget that just because you're a singer or you play guitar or you can get up in front of an audience and you can write your material and tell jokes and make people laugh, that I think every one of us is born with multiple talents. I don't think of people, especially artists, but I don't think of people in general as one dimensional. And so I really like discovering these other facets of guests and other artists, because just because we're really good or really passionate about one thing doesn't mean that that we can't excel in other areas.
Right. No, I totally get with that because I often, would think, and even talking with, younger people
Yeah.
when they're going into, like, say, trying to pick a major in college or whatever. If you think that, you put so much pressure into picking a major in college as if that is the only thing you will ever do in life. I mean, how
Exactly.
impossible is that? In which
Right.
case, I picked wrong.
Yeah.
I did it wrong. I don't. So
Well,
I
I think
think,
I
yeah,
think we all did then, but
yeah,
you're
that's
right,
true.
and I think it's really, if this helps someone, they're listening, they're watching this, and they can see that, oh well, wait a minute, these two ladies are talking about all these different things. Oh, okay, that's great. I think that's just
Yeah,
another way to look at things. Um,
absolutely.
one thing I have to ask you, and this is a little offbeat, but I noticed that in the bio that I received and the things that I've read about you, you do not refer to yourself as a comedian. You refer to yourself as a comedian, as a comic. Is that intentional?
I Yes. I used to think of, and use the word comedian,
Uh-huh.
but it's. I think it's almost like, you know. I, I'm just a comedian. I don't need to be a female comedian.
Right.
Comedian. I am a comedian.
Right. No, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was getting at, because we've had other conversations with other guests, and I often say that I've never really felt boxed in by other people's assignments of what they thought that I should be because I'm a female. I've just
Hmm.
always thought of myself as an artist, and to me, that is so much more liberating, and it's so much more freedom because it's not tied to anything like gender or
Right.
anything. And so that's why I picked up on that, and I wanted to ask you if that was intentional. For me, it was
Yes.
definitely intentional.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. It just, I mean, it doesn't. It's very. Yeah. There shouldn't be. Well, I mean, I can understand, I guess, when some people like that specificity. I don't know, but
Right.
I don't. I just feel like it's not needed. It's not needed.
Exactly.
You know.
No, I really was interested in having that question with you because, yeah, I get it. We all know that living an artist, an entertainer's life is not always the easiest. There's lots of challenges. There's, especially in the do it yourself phase, that we are a part of. Um, it's it's many times filled with tons of rejection, and I think it's really important just for in general to have these conversations, but definitely as artists, like how do you deal with that part of this? How does it affect you? Does it affect you? It may not, which I think would be phenomenal. Uh,
Yes.
but I think that sometimes it's really nice to hear some of our various coping mechanisms, that we draw upon.
That's yeah, it would be phenomenal if it didn't affect me, but it absolutely does affect me, of course. I'm not, you know, impervious. And I do, yeah, absolutely take what other people think to heart sometimes. But I think there is a point where you have to, and even in just in performing and just even doing shows, there's a point where you have to something, you know, an instance happens, but you have to move on. You can't stick with something. You can't dwell on it. You can't make it the one thing that, defines you or anything like that, good or bad. I've had conversations with other comedians where, you have a bad show and they'll say, yeah, okay, move on to the next one. Same thing though, you have a good show. Okay, done, move on to the next one. And I think that's also what comes with, being turned down for something, or, not getting a gig or not getting whatever, okay, time to move on. You can't hold on to it. You can't like live with it. It's not always easy, but something that's absolutely not always easy. Because like, I'm sure, I don't know, maybe many of you, some of you, I don't know, maybe just me, but there is a small section somewhere back here that I keep a nice bunch of horrible things that I've experienced in my life, and I just keep it locked up there. And every once in a while, something gets out, and then I recall what it is.
Right.
So, but
well, I think that's part of the artist's, way, the artist condition, the human condition, because it does help to remind yourself, look, this is just one show, or this is just one person's opinion. And yes, I mean, hopefully you move on. But it's one of the things that I've often said is, just because I don't let it break me doesn't mean that I don't notice it.
that's great. Yeah.
But I refuse to let it break. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't climbed under the covers sometimes and just hibernated for a while, or, had a whole pint or maybe a half gallon of ice cream or something, whatever, or more chocolate than I normally have. Because, I mean, we're human. And I think that is something I think if we have these conversations, especially if a young person is listening, it's this happens to all of us. And it's really important to have some coping mechanisms in place that are healthy coping mechanisms. It's hopefully there's a network of people that you can draw from, your best friends who are always going to protect you and come to your defense, and those diehard people that support you. But even if you don't have any of that, it is possible, not always easy, like you said, but it is possible to also talk to yourself and change your self-speak.
Absolutely, yes.
Sometimes we are the only person that we can draw upon.
True.
That's just part of life,
No,
but
yeah.
I'm curious if there's a situation where you felt like you had, the network, or you had all these tools in place, and then just something was so deep, how do you recover from that? or do you?
Well, I like what you said about how, something won't break you, but it doesn't mean you don't notice it. I think that's, like I said, things can stay with you. Even if you have all those like safety nets of friends and cats. I have cats. I have cats. Cats. I should be juggling them. I have so many.
Right.
And all of that, there's still times where it doesn't seem like there's enough. I guess enough to protect. And
not enough armor sometimes.
yeah, exactly. And then you have to try to be there for yourself, obviously, if it's not, but yeah, there's definitely been times that I still recall being in that kind of situation where it's just one of those things where you're just like that was a bad one. that was a moment.
I know that, that as a singer, as a performer, there's the passion and there's the love for what you do. As an entertainer, there's a thing that drives you to get on stage and do what you do. And do you consider yourself a confident person? And
No.
because you don't.
No.
Oh my gosh. You must be, because how do you then get on stage and do what you do?
I don't, I don't want to say the standard, some people go with a fake it till you make it kind of thing. And maybe that's, well, it's not necessarily part of it, but I've never had a huge amount of confidence. But I think in certain situations, I can manufacture the confidence, but have it for that moment. And then
Drawing.
and that helps because then I can have that moment. Like if it's a successful moment, then obviously then I use that for later time. Kind of keep it in the back of my mind. If I'm going to be doing, like, say, doing a show or something like that, and trying to keep myself positive, getting ready to go on stage, I try to take moments that I know that have been successful, to try to keep my confidence up, and just also really just do a lot of positive thinking. Absolutely, to help. But no.
Do you ever get to the point where, do you get stage fright? Do you get like writer's block? Are you able to just kind of push through?
I am all of those things. I don't know if I get stage fright. Stage fright sounds a little bit too much, but I'm always nervous before going on stage, and I like it that way. I don't want to be so confident and not, because I feel like that means I don't care as much.
Exactly.
I want to have that edge.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, exactly. I when I work with young people, and we're talking about the first time that you're going to go on stage versus the 600th time.
Yes.
It's butterflies are good.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I've always felt like the day that I don't feel the butterflies, and I don't mean like getting sick to my stomach or anything like that. That's way too much. I just mean like that, like you said, that the little bit of nervousness, that excitement, there's a little bit of that edge to it. But I always felt like the day that I don't feel those butterflies is probably the day that I'm done.
Yeah, I agree, because it's not, it drives you, it helps you, it's part of the experience too.
Right.
And I always, I remember reading in, it was one of Carol Burnett's books, that she was writing about an experience where she had been performing this, I guess a one-woman show, and she sang a song. She was singing this song. She was killing it, for months or whatever. So she's backstage getting ready, and she's just like, yeah, I am on this. I'm going to kill this crowd, all that stuff. She went up and she bombed. She said it was flop sweat. It was the worst situation. And she realized it was because she didn't have that anxiety, not anxiety, but that nervousness, that however, it just came across bad, and from then on out, I think, and I always think of that too,
Right.
I think.
Well, I feel like that nervousness for me is that it's the fuel that makes me just, how do I try to stay one step ahead. I know what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable, but I want, it's like I'm anticipating, okay, here comes that note. Here comes that, I've got to do that. And I suspect that if I'm not caring enough to think like that it could be a problem.
Yeah. Oh no. I totally agree. It's and it's even when if I'm feeling like a little under the weather, like a little cold or something like that, and you still got to do a show, and I feel like that energy gets you past even the feeling of the sickness or the whatever, because you get on stage and suddenly I don't feel as sick as I did a moment ago.
Right. And then at the end of the show you just collapse.
Yeah, right. Vomit and sweat and my nose drains, and that's it.
It is what it is, right?
Yes.
I just want to say a quick shout out to Albert. Thank you for joining us, Albert.
Hey, Albert.
Thanks for listening. I wonder if you could share with us before. Oh, and I forgot to mention that there's this part where I do what I call like the quick draw. So we're still chatting. We still have plenty of time. I hope you have 45 minutes to whatever. Are you?
I'm very busy.
Okay. Well, I can see you. Like one of the coolest watches I've ever seen. I have to say you. But what we'll do at the end is I just do this quick draw, which is that I ask a question and it's just whatever comes to the top of your mind. So we're working our way to that. With how long have you been doing, since you left your biologist persona and started comedy? How long has that been?
Well, I've been doing comedy for 16 years, I think, right now.
That's definitely for the long haul.
Yeah, I am. It's been good. It's a long. I mean, I did a little, in the beginning. I was still, doing a little science and a little comedy, a little mix and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a minute for sure.
Well, we all know, of course, that all of our lives it's been almost a year since the change. What have been some of the drawbacks, but also what have been some of the positives that you have had? And this, virtual, I'm assuming, is such a whole different animal, like it is for performers. It's just, glad we have it, but it's very different.
It is, and I hate to say a bit of a pale comparison to the real life that it was. Not to knock any virtual shows that I've done or will hopefully do, if anybody is out there thinking about booking me.
We'll get to that.
it has definitely been a learning experience. I mean, you know, it's there's so much that you have to take. Um, I don't know, you take differently in doing you know, a Zoom show or whatever, you know, like a virtual show.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the audience reaction. Even if you do have an audience, it's not the same. The timing is so different, so different. So it's, you know, it's made writing different, and even delivery different, you know, the timing. So I guess in a way, you could consider that. I'm not going to want to consider that a positive, but if I was really optimistic,
Right.
then I would consider that a positive, because it's kind of like working at different, you know, I guess stage muscles, if you want to say,
Right. Right.
different ways. Um, but overall, I'm not taking it as a completely positive experience.
No, I mean, there is something to be said for being able to feel the energy and the
Yes.
screen. I mean, we have the visual, thank goodness, like I said, but there's the emotion. I mean, yes, we can smile and you know, and if we're walking around with masks, you know, our eyes do smile. I do believe that, but it's not the same as the actual. You know, what I recall, and it feels like it's fading a little bit, but just the energy, the human
Yes.
particles, whatever, however you want to break it down. But to me, there was always a tangible something that was you had that immediate gratification, but it was also more than that. It was the proximity of that
Mm-hmm.
energy. And I know a lot of artist friends of mine, and myself included. I don't feel that I've adapted. I don't.
Oh no. Yeah.
I don't feel that it has. Um, I can't capture it in this way. You know,
Yeah.
I just can't. And I am a huge video and movie and film. You know, I love watching experiences on screens, but it's a whole, for me, it's just a whole different sensory, you
Mm-hmm.
know, process. It's a different way to feel emotion. So yeah.
I agree. I mean, I love going to the movies. I love all of that experience, but it's a totally different experience, and you can't take something that you experience live and expect it to translate the same on film, or, you know,
Right.
video, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Whatever, it's just, it doesn't have the same effect. Absolutely. I mean, hopefully it helps out still, in helping some people,
Right.
you know.
And staying
um,
connected and
yeah,
honing your
absolutely.
craft.
Hmm.
You know, I think it's another way to do that as a rehearsal tool that I can wrap my head around,
Yeah,
you know,
I
a
think.
little bit easier. Not
Yeah, yeah. Just
which
trying to find the bright side of this is
right. No,
scary.
it's an exercise.
It is.
But
In
that's what
futility, possibly. I don't know.
possibly. But it is something of a, you know, that is what I mean, it's very real that we have these conversations. Like we're, you know, we're we're all experiencing this thing in such different ways. And again, I go back to having conversations about it and just being honest and direct about it. I think if it helps someone who's also thinking, is it just me? No, it's not. It's all of us, you know.
Yeah. No,
Um,
absolutely. I totally. It's good. Definitely good to get all these thoughts out there
yeah,
for other
for
people to
sure.
see.
For sure. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit before we go into the quick draw, but um, were you influenced? Were you impacted by other comedians that, I mean, how, I know that you said you kind of, fell into it and decided that that was your thing, that you like to make
Mhm.
people laugh. But was it also partly observing and watching or meeting someone that really also showed you this is it?
Meeting in
Meeting
like
another
meeting
comedian,
other comedians,
yeah,
stuff like that.
or
Um,
watching the show specifically.
it's interesting. A lot of times, this isn't the same question, but a lot of times, when I go to shows or talk to people after shows, and they'll ask, who were your comic influences, stuff
Right.
like that. And I don't have like a specific, I didn't grow up watching or listening or stuff like that. There's some, comedians that I enjoy absolutely, and I identify with, but it's not, I don't have like one specific comedian that I'm, model my life after. But I've definitely made connections with comedians that I feel like that have definitely um, strengthened my love for comedy. One of them being Mr. John Poveromo, for sure. When we met, we met during a show. We were hanging out and just chatting away with each other, rather than with the other comedians who were all talking shop and all that stuff. I don't know what we were talking. We may have been talking about music or something, but we were just we got I felt a bond with him.
But yeah.
And yeah, and it, I don't know, we enjoy each other's company. We have this similar sense of humor, and I think that just really, kind of helped me too. Um, you
Well,
know,
there's something very special, I think, when artists and entertainers and performers, there is a lot of competition. There is a lot of,
mm,
you know, just because they're an artist, not everyone is super nice.
yes, that's
But
crazy.
yeah, I mean, no, right? But it's so cool and it's so magical when you do bond with someone over something that you have in common, whether it's music or whatever, comedy. And then you realize that, this person has my back. Like that to me is one of the most magical things that can
Yes.
happen in those communities, whatever that is for you. And someone that goes out of their way to say, hey, you should do this, or let me show you this, or
Mhm.
hey, you should have my friend on the show. Like, to me, that's really special. And that I'll be honest with you, yes, it was great, and that he said it, but the fact that he was doing this for you was one of the reasons why I was like, I am not going to let this slip through the cracks. Because I think it's so important, and it's just so cool when people help each other and support each other,
Yeah,
and it doesn't happen all the time.
it's true. I've met people on the total opposite side of the spectrum, and it's important because it's like, if I think about it, if we have, specifically me and John, we're very different.
Right.
Um, Other than, we're different. I don't know. We're different age. We're, uh, different.
Style.
Well, yeah, different.
Yeah.
Well, we both like women, but
Yeah.
um, so we do have that in common. But
Well, having some
we
common knowledge is
yeah,
good.
so there's that. But yeah, there's on the outside, I wouldn't necessarily, by looking at us, put us together.
Right.
Aside from the fact we're similar heights too, that's also nice. But yet I feel like very close with him. I feel like we are very similar,
Mhm.
because we
Your
have
hearts
such a
speak
good,
to each other. Your
yeah.
heart, you
Hmm.
recognize each other. I think that's pretty magical to me when that happens, you know.
Yeah. He is a good fella.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and like attracts like.
Mm.
So I think that the kindness of heart is the thing that makes these connections so special, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully we have more of that, more and more and more of that.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. It really would.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you don't get asked in interviews that you wish people would ask you about, you know, who you are as a human being or as a comic? Like, is there something that, you know, this is your forum right here because this will live on YouTube and Facebook and all of that. It's just sometimes I feel like we, as the interviewers, we don't necessarily always think about, well, what's the part of the story that the guest wants to talk about. So I try to get to that, you know, that place with everyone if possible.
That's a good question. I don't know. You know, I'm not. I think sort of. I think something that's similar with a lot of comedians I know is off stage. We're kind of quiet sometimes and not necessarily super extroverted.
Right.
So I'm not huge on talking about myself. I don't know. So if I could be asked about something, it would probably be something very not about me.
All right then. Well,
completely different.
Okay. Well, why don't we go into the quick draw?
Okay.
So I always, you know, this is I'll ask the question. They're just random questions that I jotted down or wrote down. If it's something that you don't want to answer, you just say pass. It's not a problem. There's no pressure. The whole thing about this chat is I just wanted it to be fun and enlightening and just, you know, like a conversation. So no pressure.
All right. Okay. Pass. Oh, sorry. Just got excited there.
Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, no offense to Jersey, but if you could just anywhere in the world, where would you live?
I want to say England popped into my head. I'm not really sure why, but that just popped into my head.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe your roots are calling you or something.
Possibly.
You know, you never know, right? Okay. So England. What word do you absolutely loathe?
What word do I absolutely loathe? You know, chillax was just the thing that popped into my head. I find that word to be very, I don't know, just very wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, it's very West Coast, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah.
I think so. Okay, how about what word do you just love?
Ethereal.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That word.
If you could have lunch with your favorite superhero, who would that be?
Aquaman.
And why?
Oh, Aquaman, because I still have the marine biology thing going in my brain.
That makes perfect sense. Not to mention, he is very handsome, I have to say.
He is a good looking fella if you're into that kind of thing.
But there's something about when I heard that when Jason Momoa was being cast, I'm a huge comic book geek.
Are you? Oh.
Yeah. And even though he doesn't look like the traditional, you know, the blonde, you know, but I thought, oh, I can see that. And then I was expecting to not really like the movie all that much, but I didn't dislike him in that role. I know that sounds really weird, but I felt like there was this, I don't know. They did a good job, and I thought he did a good job with it.
Yeah, there was a I don't know, sea underwater feel to him, kind of.
Yeah, I think there's this islander thing. So I thought they did a nice job. Albert might be disagreeing with me. I'm not sure, but because I know he loves comic books too.
Albert.
So I may have been swayed by other factors, I'll admit. All right, let's do one more.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite joke?
Of my own, or just in general?
No, just in general.
Okay. In general, I'm gonna go with a joke my mom told me. It's mainly because my mom told me when I was in grade school, we had to, I guess, a way of getting to know the class or getting us, out of our comfort zone, and we had to get up in front of the class and tell a joke. So I couldn't think of one, and my mom, the day of, my mom told me the joke that I ended up telling, which was also possibly one of the small factors in making me a comedian. My joke was, why did the monkey fall out of the tree?
I don't know. Why did the monkey fall out of the tree?
Because he was dead. Now, this is what my mom told me to tell in front of all my grade school friends.
Right.
Yes.
And how did that go over?
And actually, they laughed for a good, I don't know, several minutes. I was the #1 joke teller of the day.
Well, there you go. That's where it all started. Now we know.
Yes. There's that grade school mom joke that set me on course.
But it's such a beautiful recollection, though. It's such a beautiful memory, and the fact that it connects you to your mom.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really sweit.
If you overlook the fact that the joke is about a dead monkey, yeah.
We might get in trouble for that, but it is just a joke.
Yes, completely. These things happen.
Ah, yes. Joanne, this has been such a delight. I'm so happy that we were able to do this. Thank you so much.
I've had a wonderful time. It was so much fun. I'm so glad that we got to do it. It was great.
Me too. I hope that you'll consider coming back. I'm thinking maybe having both you and John on at the same time might be fun.
That would be so great.
Right?
That would be so much fun. So. Yes.
Now,
maybe not for you, because we'll be very overbearing.
That's okay. But before I let you go, and in case people want to learn more about you and connect with you, do you mind just sharing? And also on Confidence Strategies on the Facebook page, feel free to put all your information there, your socials, your next
Social Security number?
Well, no. Your social media, all of that. I think your website, I think all of that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do that. But for right now, yeah, you can follow me on all the socials. It's all at Joanne Filan, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else there is. My website is, you can do joannefilan.com or also upstreamcomedy.com.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Carmen. I had a great time. It was wonderful. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. I think we will work on this idea, though.
Excellent. I love it. Cool. I'm going to go tell John.
Right? Okay.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
And that wraps it up for tonight, everyone. I hope you had got a little bit of just laughter and joy, and you got to know this wonderful comedian, Joanne Filan. And, I am always grateful that you're willing to share this time with us. It's, again, we're going to be doing this. Typically, it's going to be the third Tuesday of the month, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And hopefully, we'll see you again next month. I really appreciate your continued support, as I mentioned before. And if you like us on YouTube and on our Facebook page, Confidence Strategies with Carmen Milagro, make your comments. Let us know who else that you would like to see that I could reach out to and have them come on as well. I welcome those suggestions and referrals, just like John did with Joanne. And please stay healthy, continue to thrive together, stay safe. We want to continue to evolve and explore the positive possibilities in life in general, in the arts and music. Our guests are from all walks of life, just like you all are. And I'm honored to be your host. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll see you next month. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.